welcome back to Everybody Loves Raymond. We're back from our winter time hiatus. We hope you all had a happy new year and whatever observances you were celebrating. We hope you rang them in a big way. I hope you all got the Christmas cards that we sent out. That was Mike's responsibility. When he got back from Geneva, he was supposed to...
You buy the stamps, Mike?
Our cards in the mail.
Yeah. So about that, did not do that. I sent out an email, but I sent it to be very delayed so that they would be reminded that this podcast was coming on. You should have gotten the picture of... Did we even take a Christmas picture this year?
I believe it was a Photoshop of all of our faces onto, much like, remember when you got catfished by Murr pretending to be Marie? And
yeah, that's right, yeah.
There was some sort of Photoshop with the DVD covers of Everybody Loves Raymond box sets where all of the faces were either Marie or yours or something. I don't remember.
I
that
forget
seems like a different life.
Who was who? And also, I don't think that would mean much to anyone who listens because I think most of the people listening actually have no idea what we look like.
That's a good point. So we could theoretically send a Christmas card with anybody on it.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe we should do that.
We should have done that. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that I didn't send it out.
So,
I'm glad it didn't fulfill.
I'm sorry. Did you sent the email with the picture of the Christmas card on it for after this episode comes out?
Right, I figured that it'd be, a bit of a bump to everybody to let them know that,
bump
hey,
for the episode.
Yeah, bump for the episode, yeah. Just to remind them, hey, we exist. We had Christmas too, that's all.
It's better late than never, I guess. But that's Mike E, by the way.
Hi, guys.
Adam, and that's Alex.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Alex.
And,
hi, guys.
We are here doing the only Everybody Loves Raymond rewatch podcast in the world, but also... we haven't seen each other. The best and the most profane Everybody Loves Raymond podcast in the world.
Wasn't easy, but we did it.
That's true.
We beat them with one, and we kept on going.
Well, because there was that episode of Must Love Raymond where they did the aristocrats joke for 3 hours. And I don't think we're there yet, but luckily that's since been taken down.
Maybe a Baroness episode. Yeah. A Baroness Sonus.
Yeah.
That'll entice people. But yeah, so we haven't seen each other in a couple weeks here. We've all been doing our various things. Like I mentioned, Mike was... Now, remind me. You were at Geneva Convention 2 Electric Boogaloo, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So just to remind everybody, we need everybody here to vote in the upcoming election because our dear co-host Alex over there is running for mayor of Lynbrook. And it's a tight race, and everybody is on board for it except for our other co-host Adam, who has betrayed us by going for a rival candidate. So because we couldn't rely on Adam anymore, I had to go enlist the help of various European leaders in this local mayoral election.
Mike, we haven't been able to really catch up on kind of how your trip was, so we're going to kind of just do that live right here. I do want to hear kind of a review of kind of what you learned, what you received, kind of what you were able to accomplish.
Do you want me to plug my ears or take my headphones off? Because, we are representing /are opposing candidates here. So in the interest of good sportsmanship, I would be happy to take my headphones off.
Adam's candidate is an R, a Raymond, and we're a D, a Deborah.
But yeah, no, I will take my headphones off, and I will continue to sit here across from you at the table in the winter.
Not listening.
I appreciate that. I mean, listen, I'm perfectly fine with you listening in because I just want to see you be flabbergasted by how absolutely trounced you're being.
Blabber his guests, Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will say that the Geneva Convention went great for the first couple days, and then they kicked me out, but that was that's a different story.
Mike,
yeah.
what did you do?
Nothing. Well, first of all, I want to say that my goal was to rub shoulders with Justin Trudeau, and I will say that I was Justin Trudeau and Emmanuel Macron. I got both of them to sign on. They're both going to be very, very happy to help out.
Cool. One of those guys is one of those the guy who makes the donuts, or who are these people?
All right, can we?
Who are
Adam,
you talking about?
Just for our...
Are you talking about the Dunkin' Donuts guy from the commercial in the 80s? You think one of those guys is... You think the time to make the donuts guy became the president of France?
Everybody knows...
It seems like he had an agenda. I don't know.
Everybody knows Macron loves a good pastry, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It checks out. It makes sense. But yeah, I mean, listen. I told them about our plight to establish some justice and some sense in the Limburg politics, and they loved it. They loved the idea. I might have implied that we are an independent nation and are willing to lend our standing army of 50,000 plus in any way that they want, but we'll deal with that after the election. I think this will be.
I wasn't planning on a secession, but maybe? I don't know. We could maybe see how it works.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we need a secession. I think that we could just kind of have our own National Guard or something. But again, listen, the way that politics works is you make promises in the campaign and then later on figure out how to make them happen. That's just...
Right,
so we'll
right.
get... Well, okay. Maybe we'll enlist a draft or something like that. But listen, that was what France wanted. That's what Macron wanted. Trudeau was just happy to know that that we would shift loyalties from the Islanders to the Canadians. He's a big Montreal fan. So nice. if we just hang a Montreal Canadiens banner in City Hall, he's on board to
I could
to
do
help
that
out any way he can.
If you're gonna do a draft, Mike, just maybe don't use the regular United States one, because Limburg did have that epidemic of flat-footedness a couple years ago. So
yeah, that's right.
We were whatever it is, F1 across the board during Vietnam.
Yeah, no high heels for us.
We didn't get anybody.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, no, I'm confused now. Did you or did you not talk to the guy who makes the donuts?
I did not talk to the guy that makes
you
the
missed
donuts.
him?
I'm not gonna. I don't think he was there. I don't think he was in Sweden. Or I'm sorry,
Mike,
Switzerland that day.
We need a supplier.
I mean, there's a Dunkin' Donuts the town over. There's just not one in Lynbrook. We could still drive there. That's still okay.
Now, first of all, there is a Dunkin' in Lynbrook, but they cannot possibly make the stock that we require.
How many donuts?
They're famously a one and done. They do one a day. It's a lottery system.
They're a Dunkin' Donut. Singular.
Yeah.
They're a dunk this donut.
That's all they got. Yeah. So I mean,
just to recap, you lied to two world leaders in exchange for some vague promise of support, and also failed to acquire the one thing your candidate asked you for, which was donuts.
I really think, to be clear, I won't say, I don't think we lied. We just made I made a statement of our goals and how they might benefit these nations in the future.
What exactly does Trudeau want 50,000 men for? Is it hockey related?
Or is it sexual?
Is he trying to start a sexual hockey league?
Full body contact.
High sticking.
Listen, both Trudeau and Macron were obviously there. I will say that there was clearly a weird relationship, because Macron was very excited that Macron was initially very excited that he was able to talk to Trudeau, because not many people spoke French there.
Switzerland.
In Switzerland, yeah. And so they were very excited to talk, but Trudeau only wanted to talk hockey, and Macron was like, the World Cup's going on. We could talk about that, but Trudeau was having none of it.
Well, Trudeau,
so I think
he showed up to the G7 in pads and helmet with stick. I think he's trying to make the leap.
I think he's looking to get pucked.
Sexual hockey league.
He wants into the sexual hockey league. Maybe that's a possibility. It's definitely not, trying to for a strategic location. So for the new, French and Indian War. Then
no, I wouldn't want that
too. Yeah, no, that would be bad.
Electric
that would be very
Boogaloo.
bad. A lot of Electric Boogaloo sequels.
They're saying that this is the year of Electric Boogaloo.
2023, baby.
Yeah, so hopefully we don't have to go to war, but other than that, I think we'll be okay. Anyway, so next week, both of them are going to do a tour of Limburg. We're gonna put them in front of Dunk This Donut. We're gonna put them in front of City Hall and various other locations throughout.
What do you mean put them in front of?
Well, we don't have the big auditorium that typically political speakers give. That's in Rockville Center, so we can't use that for our elections. So they're gonna come by. We're gonna put a little platform in front of Dunk This Donut, and they're gonna give speeches about how Limburg is gonna be great.
Well, that sounds. I don't know if I should be intimidated by that as your opponent. It sounds like it's gonna be. It sounds like you personally have gotten yourself into something, as you often do.
And Mike, that's fine. But I think you did a good job. Just do keep an eye out for that guy who makes the donuts. I really do need him on board.
Oh yeah. I'll talk to.
I mean, yeah, because
as far as I can tell, there are two guys. There's the guy who announces when it is time to make the donuts, who may or may not have a hand in the actual making of the donuts. I don't remember, but he's picking up the guy who is for certain needs to be involved in the making of the donuts.
Mike, we need the guy who actually makes the donuts, not the guy who says...
You want the guy in the commercial who didn't have any lines. You want the guy who's getting up...
I need the guy who makes the donuts, actually. I need that guy. Find me that guy, Mike.
So to be clear here, you sent me to find a guy that did a single line in a Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
He sent you to find the guy who didn't have any lines.
Oh, sorry. No. You wanted me to get a guy that had no lines in an obscure Dunkin' Donuts commercial from the 1980s. Instead, I got you the world leaders of two major world superpowers.
And that's
fine. And you're
fine.
upset with me.
No, I'm not upset. You did a good job. I'm just I need that too. And that's more of a recent development.
Why are you so
did
obsessed
something
with is there a
spur
reason?
your desire to have the guy who makes the donuts?
So check it, right? You remember what I was doing, for the holiday season. I decided to hide out in the big Christmas tree here in Lynbrook and spy on our mall Santa for reasons that I don't remember, but it was a very real reason.
You were very, very excited about it. I do remember that, but I forget why.
I was incredibly excited about it. And you know what? After 3 days, I kind of lost my initial objective because here's what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
After watching Santa for a long time, I noticed that he took constant breaks going to different places around town. He went to the barber shop. He tried to go to Duane Reade, but of course that's not here anymore.
Right.
He went to Dunk This Donut.
Oh.
And he received his one donut, and then as he walked out, the cashier kind of ran out and was like, "Santa, wait, that's your donut.
Santa,
you're
wait.
done. That's it. No more." And he was bummed.
This wasn't a situation where, when in any time Santa is in a sitcom or in a movie or something, and people are like, "Is that Santa?" The person at Dunk This Donut knows Santa well on a first name basis and has confirmed that it is Santa.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys ever met Reggie at the Dunk This, but he's pretty good. But anyway,
and he does not make the donut.
Reggie isn't the guy that makes the donut?
Most importantly, for corporate, Reggie is the guy who makes the sales.
Yeah, no, good for Reggie.
The sale.
Good for everyone. He makes the sale. But here's the thing, right? After some like observations of Santa, I was able to confirm that this guy is legit. You know, he is North Pole in origin. And on the 24th, he was getting ready to go back to the North Pole, and I ran into him, obviously, and I tried to stop him, like, Santa, hey, I'm running for mayor. I could really use your support in this upcoming election. You know, how big of a get would that be, Mike? Like, to get Santa to endorse me? Imagine, like, all the presents coming down the tree, and each one had a little vote for Alex sticker on it.
You know what? That's gonna help. It would have helped a lot more if you got him before Christmas. yeah. But
no. Here's the thing, and this is and this kind of ties back to our original predicament. Santa looked to me and he said, "Well, gee, Alex, I would love to help you, but only if you can promise to make this town a place that Santa can feel comfortable coming back to." And he requested a donation of 55,000 donuts.
Oh.
That's a lot of donuts.
So we got to find this guy, Mike.
Oh, so he wasn't... My first thought was he felt uncomfortable in town, but he was doing like a mafia thing where he's like, I want this to be a place that I can be comfortable.
He needs more donuts. Like, he's done. Like, he can't get more at the Dunk this. We need more donuts. So we got to find that guy, Mike.
Okay.
Santa.
Before Christmas.
2023.
To be clear, it's very possible. Well, to be clear, the election is before Christmas 2023.
Yes, I know. It's coming up relatively soon.
It's about 14 episodes from now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna be able to cash in on the chimney support.
No problem. We just take a lot of hiatuses until then.
Because it is tied to our show.
Yes.
That wasn't a time scale thing. It is literally we have to complete 14 episodes.
That's written in the Declaration of Independence. That we have to that the elections are counted not in weeks or days, but by number of ELELR episode releases. But regardless, we need that support, Mike.
When Mrs. Robinson goes to the pediatrician and she tells them who her kids are, that's the Declaration of Lynn's Dependence.
Adam, how was your trip?
Well, as you can probably tell from the mileage and wear on the Winnebago here, we're sitting in, by the way, our recreational vehicle, a 1991 Winnebago that we've outfitted to be our mobile studio / shrine to Raymond / movable campaign billboard / meat storage. I drove the Winnebago to Hollywood, drove across the country. I had to go through the Limbrook border. They shook me down. They said, you cannot bring meat into the United States. And I said, don't worry about it. This is good meat. And they said, that doesn't make a difference. It was I was going to say celery. It was celery. It was salami. It was ham, turkey, prosciutto.
So you brought a charcuterie board across
a deli.
International borders.
Oh, yeah. What the hell?
Well, it was Pastrami's deli leavings that
that's
part
right.
of our arrangement is he uses the Winnebago as a meat dumpster in exchange for, I guess, letting me park there, because I'm doing a lot more for him now, so maybe we can negotiate that. But
yeah, I was going to say...
But anyway, I went through the border. I drove across the country. I stopped off at, all the sites, the Grand Canyon, Chicago, the famous sites as you drive across
the big two. The big two sites in
Well, it's the only two stops that I made. I drove straight through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, don't mind that white powder that's everywhere. That's just straight up sugar. I just drove through 3 nights to get to Chicago, and then I drove through, I guess, 4 more nights to get to the Grand Canyon. I didn't take highways, just surface streets, because
you side-streeted your way across America?
Yeah, because the
badass,
Winnebago technically is not it's not that it's not registered, it's that it's unregisterable due to the nature of its construction, the fact that it does not have brakes. It only has an emergency brake, and the fact that it is now more refrigerator than anything. So if I got pulled over, that would be the end. They would shoot to kill.
Yeah, I could see how it would be.
So eventually I made it. I pulled into Jay Leno's garage. I called ahead, and he gave me a spot.
Of course.
And I said, you can look this thing up and down, repair it, compare it to your 1920s fire engines. I'm going to go walk around town. So I left his garage. I walked straight to David Schwimmer's house because we had made the arrangement before through our good friend OJ, who consulted on The People versus OJ Simpson, and that's how we met David Schwimmer, that Schwimmer would connect me to Matthew Perry, who, the star of Go On and Mr. Sunshine, and he would lend his support.
You don't want to claim friends, or
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
He would lend his support to my candidate, defrocked priest Father John Strami, also known as Pa, whose platform is, we want to build a rotunda in Lynbrook to all the great sitcom stars. Raymond
yes.
has
Very egalitarian.
has his place, and we're proud of him, but why can't we build a place for everyone? So
because they're not from Lynbrook. Danny Tanner's from San Francisco. Let San Francisco have a Danny Tanner thing.
Let the less important city have him.
But if
Lynbrook deserves Raymond, I almost said Danny.
If we have the Danny Tanner thing, people from San Francisco will come here
to try and steal it.
They'll pay the entry fee into Lynbrook, and then before you know it, we're the richest city in the world. Look out, Dubai.
Lynbrook doesn't have an entrance fee yet.
Oh, have you not got... I guess you haven't left town in a while. No, there's a guy taking tickets at the border, the city limits.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's just Crazy Dan. He just cons people out of money.
Well, he used to be Crazy Dan, but now he has a formal title. He's, ticket collector Dan. And then his name tag says crazy in quotes as like a fun nod to his past. It's $5.99 to enter, and with
$10.99 to leave.
So anytime,
$12.
Look,
I did hear about this actually. Yeah,
somebody comes in from San Francisco. That's $17 that the town has made right there. So
$5.99 plus $5.99 is $17.
Did he not say $10.99?
I did say $10.99.
Right.
Oh, never mind.
So
they upped the charge since the last time I checked.
So that's the thinking, is we gotta get tourists, people from Boston. We're doing a whole Cheers wing, at least in the blueprints. We're doing a whole Cheers wing. We've got Norm, we've got Cliff. It's gonna be great. So that's the strategy. So I get to Schwimmer's house, and he still has all of this. They gave him like chef knives and stuff from Feed the Beast, the one season AMC show that he did about 7 years ago. So he was making me like, roasts and so many appetizers and hors d'oeuvres. He was really feeding me and feeding me. And I was like, Schwimmer, you gotta drive me to Matthew Perry's house already. And that's when he sort of broke down in tears and said that since what do you call it, friends?
Yeah, friends.
So, yeah, whatever that was, the reunion, the last time they saw each other.
I genuinely can't believe that you missed the Friends boat, honestly. There's a boat? It feels like...
Is it like it's like a Gilligan's Island kind
Yeah,
of
it's
thing?
called the Friendship.
But since then,
just gonna leave that there.
They haven't talked to each other. Apparently, there's been quite a falling out between these gentlemen, and
probably from the Joey incident.
The Joey incident. Now, what's that? Like a baby kangaroo?
He tried to fuck an entire hockey team.
Who's he?
Joey.
You see, I think that you're missing the point here, Alex. I think that Adam somehow missed one of the most popular sitcoms of all time, and is instead is confused about Joey.
So Schwimmer couldn't help me, so I was like, all right, fine. And I left his house. He gave me like a lot of food to bring with me, so I was pushing like a room service cart down the street in Hollywood, and lo and behold, I stumble onto this little hole in the wall, this little bar, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go in, drown my sorrows in a virgin mojito. And I come up, I sidle up to the bar, I get my drink, and then it's just me and the bartender, and he's talking to me, and he's like, so what are you in town for? And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to find all these old sitcom stars that I can, get an endorsement for my candidate. We're trying to build a rotunda. And he was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then he goes away for a second, and he comes back, and he hands me some food, and I'm like, I didn't order this. He's like, look at it. And I'm like, I don't want it, please. I don't eat food in bars as just a general rule. And he's like, no, look at it. And so I'm like,
rule.
Well, it's based on something that happened to me.
Okay. We'll go into that at a different time. What was in the food?
Well, finally, I look down, and it's a plate of scrambled eggs and a small side salad. And I'm like, what is this? And he's like, it's tossed salad and scrambled eggs. And then I look, and he's got a beard. He's got long, stringy hair. I almost didn't recognize him, but I made eye contact with him. And it was Frasier. It was Kelsey Grammer.
Oh.
Are you telling me that you got Kelsey Grammer to step into the Limbrook mayoral race for you?
Well, not just that. I brought him back to Limbrook.
He's here?
So I went back to Jay Leno's garage. Me and Kelsey Grammer went back to Jay Leno's garage. We got in the Winnebago. We set off. We stopped at the Grand Canyon again because he had never seen it. And then we stopped at Chicago again because he had never seen it. So we got back to Limbrook. We paid our $11.98 because it's, $5.99 per person. And we drove to the deli. He shook hands with Father Strami, and he said, you know what? I'm going to be your running mate. So now we've got a ticket, right?
So Kelsey Grammer is vice mayor of Limbrook?
Kelsey Grammer is running for vice mayor with Pastrami.
Fuck, dude.
And I put that shit together.
We gotta get the guy that makes the donuts. Holy shit. Oh,
God. Mike, I don't think I can compete with Kelsey Grammer. That dude's like a really good speller.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean...
At least his sentences make sense, for sure.
Got the name for it.
And, other than him, the whole sitcom thing was a sort of a failure. What?
I gotta back it up a second here. You got Kelsey Grammer, one of the most famous sitcom stars of all time, to step in for your candidate, but he's not a guest on today's show? He's not a guest on this sitcom podcast?
I asked. Believe me, I asked. And he said that he is saving any Frasier-based talk for when the reboot comes out. Because I don't know if you've heard about this.
Frasier reboot?
They are, in real life, doing a Frasier reboot. And
well, of course they're doing it in real life. What else would we be talking about?
Is there a fake life?
No. I'm just saying it's not a dream. They are doing a Frasier reboot, and we don't have the details yet, but I personally am almost certain Frasier is going to be hosting a podcast. So we've already agreed that this is going to be good synergy for when the reboot comes out, but until then, total embargo on press, and we are press and we are journalists.
You know what, Adam? You failed to get your guy on our show. I can promise you this: before this election ends, we will get the guy who makes the donuts on this podcast. Although it'll be hard to recognize him through audio alone since he didn't have a line, but trust me, it's gonna be him.
It'll be the guy.
It's gonna be him.
And look, if his name in the description is just the guy who makes the donuts, that's his choice. That's not because nobody knows what his name is. I will say, we are building quite the ticket, and not only do we have Kelsey Grammer as vice mayor, we've got Pastrami as mayor. but we have our Secretary of City already, the equivalent of a Secretary of State. It is, in fact, the Where's the Beef lady. So
Oh, no.
I'm just saying, it's going to be tough for you guys. She came out of retirement for this one. She said, a lot of people don't know she was born in Limburg. And
all of these people, you can't run for mayor in Limburg if you're not born in Limburg. So Kelsey Grammer
was born
in Limburg. Pastrami, born in Limburg.
Where's the Beef lady?
Where's the Beef lady? Born in Limburg. Guy who makes the donuts also was indeed born in Limburg.
Allegedly.
It's true.
Nobody has ever seen his birth certificate. And believe me, we will be bringing that up on the campaign trail.
Well, you know what? He's not signed yet, so don't bring it up yet.
You guys don't know what's going on with Tyrone Dickey anyway?
I've been so busy dealing with your guy that I have not even considered looking at him.
Right. The third candidate in the mayoral race.
Yeah, he also is leading the polls in every single one.
Wait. You got the
like
polls?
Tyrone Dickey's like not. Tyrone Dickey's like 90%.
Yeah, he's 90%, and then the next largest is 9% disinterested, and then it's 0.5% for each of us.
0.5% for each.
Oh, it's a close race, Adam.
It's really tight, actually.
We're tied for third. I mean, it's still anybody's game.
Yeah. Listen, we got 14 more episodes to make a comeback here.
We're gonna win.
His latest stance has been who gives a shit about Raymond, which actually seems to be. I don't understand that. I don't understand why that's the main point that he's making. But
he's doing this whole like poverty and schools and free dental care for seniors. Like what?
Fuck
who
that.
gives a shit? He's like, we don't make sitcoms in this city. There's no reason for us to be so invested in television production. And that's not what the people want to hear. Clearly,
no.
A whole % of people is interested in this.
They're
very much.
They're
so.
interested in all of this. Yeah, no, we're gonna listen. Once Trudeau gets here and we get his opinion on season 2 of Raymond, that's when we're cooking with grease.
Look, our lineup of guests, you listeners have a lot to look forward to.
Well, typically, I haven't cleared it with Justin, but we'll see. We'll see what we got.
It's gonna happen.
Possibly Trudeau. The Where's the Donuts? I mean, the Where's the Donuts?
Where's the donuts?
The time to make the beef lady.
We got
and Kelsey Grammer.
Let's just talk about Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we got to get to the episode. So, yeah, this is the only Everybody Loves Raymond rewatch podcast out there. So you're stuck with us. And we are going to go through season 2, episode 10. When we come back from this break, we'll be right back after this.
Love you.
Okay, so our location for the ad is Top Secret Meeting Room. Top Secret Meeting Room.
Lock the door, Giles. All right, gentlemen. We've come here today. We got a big situation on our hands here. So the president has called down, and he's not happy. He's not happy with our performance. He's bored.
Did he ask about me?
No, Jeff, do you think I asked the president about you specifically?
Well, I'm not asking if you asked about me. I'm asking if he, knowing that he was calling down here, asked about me.
He did mention he did ask about your wife. He asked about your wife specifically.
Wait,
Okay.
Mr. Sprinkles over here.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the president of the America or president of comedy?
This is the president of America. We're in the Situation Room.
I'm going.
Get out of here, Sprinkles.
Carl, you can come out from under the table and put Mr. Sprinkles away. I think this is a international business meeting and not a comedy meeting for you and your puppet. No?
No.
All right. Carl's under the table.
Carl's just gonna stay there, guys. Guys, Jeff, Carl,
What did he
Mr.
say
Sprinkles,
specifically?
He said he's
about
bored.
my wife, I mean.
No. He said she's a pretty lady. Has she dumped that Jeff guy yet? Anyway, we're moving forward.
There might be something there. I could get something going there.
You're going to set the president up with your wife?
Yeah.
Hey, you know, but hey, listen.
Look, just between us,
regardless,
that's what I'm into. I may be the national security advisor by day, but I'm the national cuck advisor by night.
You're learning way
All right,
too
now
much about
now
Jeff.
Carl is interested.
Oh, hi, Carl.
Oh, good. Oh, we got Mr. Sprinkles away.
Wait,
Okay,
Carl,
great.
are you also into that sort of thing? Have you met my wife?
Well, you know where I have met your wife, actually? Very specifically, I met your wife on the Everybody Loves Raymond messaging board.
Oh, yeah, she fucking loves that show.
Wait. Hold on. Tell me more about this. Because specifically,
Well,
the
she
president's
listens to it.
situation
She
is
puts her
he's-
AirPods in while we make love, and she listens to that show. And I
Yeah, the
hear
mel-
it through. There's a lot of bleed. They're not like name brand AirPods. They're like grocery store ones. There's a lot
Yeah.
of bleed. So it's like, oh, Deborah.
I tell you
And
what,
that's
you know,
the only way that I can finish.
The angelic voices of those men are the only thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. And, you know, I did their 48-hour challenge and I lost all interest in living until I realized that they had more to offer.
So what's the problem?
The president's bored because he doesn't have any more of the Barone boys to listen to, and now I seem to be learning that there's something else going on
That's
here.
a
that might
shame. I
solve the
wish there was
problem.
something we could do to help them.
Well-
I'm going home.
Wait, Carl.
Carl, come back. Carl, come back.
My wife, midway through our last coital session, she pulled up her phone and she went to postfund.org/donate because apparently you can get a monthly bonus episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. Pay in what you want one time. You get access to these monthly bonus episodes. And that way she was able to continue making love to me because she had something else to listen to.
Wow. Okay, so first of all, this sounds like it'll solve the problem of the problems facing the free world, and second of all, might help the president finish. This is great.
Well, if my plan goes off without a hitch and he ends up making love to my wife.
Well,
My wife.
We learned a lot about each other this Situation Room meeting, boys. I'm proud
Hey,
of us.
Carl, can you make Mr. Sprinkles say my wife?
Mary.
So we're done?
Thank you, Sprinkles.
All right, goodbye.
I guess. Wait.
And we're back. We are going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 10. Look, we've got a lot going on in our personal lives, but we put that aside every week, except for the past 4 weeks, to talk about Everybody Loves Raymond, break down the episodes scene by scene. I'm Adam. That's Alex.
Hey.
That's Mike.
I'm Mikey.
And I want to
Hello.
know what everybody's overall impression of Season 2, Episode 10, High School, was. Let's start with Mike.
I don't fucking know, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, no, no.
I'm gonna be real. It was like, there were times in which I related to the situation, and I was like, yeah, I could see that. And then there were times where I just wanted to, like, shake Ray and be like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you talking about? Like, specifically, and I'm sure we'll get into it as the episode goes on, but his friends were straight up creeps. His high school friends did not give me good vibes, and also then refused to dance with his wife. And I was just kind of like, man, that sucks. And also, like, I mean, there were a few good laughs in this episode. There absolutely were. But I definitely think the last few episodes before this were a little bit stronger. Definitely enjoyed the episode, but there were just a couple of, like I said, just a wide range of feelings throughout this one.
Interesting. Alex, what was your overall impression?
I think the best note I took this entire, throughout this episode was, and I quote, I hate Scott. and I wrote that 2 sentences into his character.
Wow.
Ray's friends, I think, did a really good job of being kind of like those high school dorks who never really developed socially. I also have kind of mixed feelings on this episode. I enjoyed it. There were some good laughs. I thought there were a few misses, joke-wise, not because of anything offensive, just because I didn't think it was, I just thought there were some misses for the jokes. And just overall, like, I mean, high school's a weird thing just to think about, after you're out of there, and just like, thinking about back then, just so many things are important that just are immediately not important once you leave. And then you kind of learn about real life. So it's just like going back there, kind of like at one point I'm sympathetic towards Ray's kind of weirdness in that whole situation. But then also I feel like he was just kind of, he was pulling a Ray and just digging himself into a hole the whole time. I don't know. I liked it. Adam, what did you think?
I agree that it was kind of a iffy episode. I didn't really feel, I didn't feel any hatred towards Scott and Warren, Ray's friends.
Warren was the other guy's name?
Yes, it was.
I kept forgetting. Yeah.
One, I think, was said once. But
yeah, Warren was only said once. Scott was said a couple times.
Scott's full name. But I felt sorry for them and I felt sorry for Ray as well, because you hope, like Alex was saying, that high school is a weird thing and those social dynamics are not what real life social dynamics are like. So you would hope that all of these people go off and they learn how to, function in a situation like this, and maybe they don't immediately reconnect with all these people or connect with these people that they never connected with. But it's not miserable, and it's not something that, like, where Ray is sitting refusing to dance with his wife and watching the purses. It got me thinking about we three are coming up on our 10-year high school reunions, which seems odd.
It is.
I personally think that I don't have any interest in going to a high school reunion.
Mike and I were talking about this, actually.
I didn't go to my 5-year.
You had a 5-year high school reunion?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I guess just to come back and say, hey, I finished college, and then you go home.
Or, hey, I didn't finish college.
Yeah, it's kind of high school reunions in general are kind of weird. I feel like it says it sounds nice. It's like, hey, I haven't spoken to these guys in a while. I'd love to touch base with them again. And then you come together and it becomes almost a competition kind of thing. So I don't like about who's doing better. So that's a weird element of high school reunions, but I think I would go to my 10-year just because, like I said, I've lost touch with a lot of these people. I'd like to see what's happening, but at the same time, yeah, it's a weird thing that I feel like I could skip.
I sort of agree about that. But as far as the episode, individual thoughts about high school reunions in general aside, as far as the episode, it was kind of not one of the stronger episodes, like joke-wise. There was a little bit of physical comedy towards the end, especially with the Ray and Robert dancing. But other than, like, I also felt like the parents were kind of shoehorned into the episode very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Gotta hit the contract. They gotta make an appearance.
Well, yeah, but the plot of the episode wasn't like the conflict seemed not as relatable or realistic as most of these episodes are.
I feel like and this is something I held back saying when I was watching the episode, but like when I saw Deborah like dancing with like the popular guy, like if I was married to Deborah, like in my mind I would have been like, He wants her, and he can't have her.
Yeah.
I win.
That's another way to look at that situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. If I had a lot of good friends in high school. I also, was also bullied, and if I went to a high school reunion with my wife, and she started dancing with my high school bully, I would have a problem with that too. So I get why he was upset if but he was still like, a wallflower stick in the mud, so I only have some sympathy for him.
He chose to be in that situation. I'm not sure why. Like, that's what's not totally relatable about it. Like, whatever your relationship to the other people at the table, Deborah, and you have an existing relationship, and in a situation like that, that's somebody that you're supposed to be a partner with, be a team with, going into a situation like that. So if Deborah asks you to dance, that's, something that would be preferable to sitting there with the purses while your wife is dancing with your bully.
And I can understand why Ray would be upset about that, but mainly just like, dude could have just kind of talked to Deborah afterwards and told her how he was feeling, or just, again, danced with her. Like there were ways to not get into that situation.
Yeah. All in all, I mean, if you take that Ray is this emotionally stunted man-child who behaves in ways that might not seem totally rational or relatable all the time, then the rest of the episode's events follow logically from that. So it's not like it's inconsistent with his character. It's that it's not a compelling conflict to me because I find it difficult to put myself in that exact state of mind. There's elements of that I can relate to. Not wanting to go to your high school reunion, not wanting to be around certain people that you went to high school with, but also trying to show them, I'm a big sports writer now. And just feeling awkward in general at a social gathering where you don't hardly know anybody. We really don't know anybody after 20 years. They've changed a lot, presumably.
Basically different.
At any rate, we'll touch on different things as we go through the episode, because it's kind of nebulous. But let's start with the cold open. Ray and Deborah are in the kitchen, and Ray is sitting down with a bottle of Canada Dry, and she asks him to pick up the kids, and they have a little back and forth about who's going to pick up the kids. Neither of them want to go. And then Marie comes in, and they immediately both say that they're going to go because they want to avoid Marie, which is a solid little comedic move. Marie, she says something like she accidentally doubled her cookie recipe.
Yeah.
Needs the counter space.
Yeah, so she comes in with half of what Ray says is 5,000 cookies. And Frank follows her in with is it a hot tray of cookies? I wasn't really looking.
Two more hot trays.
Two more.
Seems to be,
yeah, and he waves his hand. And then the reason Deborah doesn't want to go pick up the kids is because she's sorting the catalogs, she says, so that there are catalogs on the table. Frank goes to take which one does he go to take? I don't remember. But there's one...
Damn it, I should have written it down. I don't remember.
Yeah. There's one that he goes to take, and Marie is like, no, take the clothing one. And he says, why I have clothes, or why would I want to get new clothes? And Marie essentially says, because other people have to look at you. It's kind of a...
Which is the only line Frank gets this episode, is he goes in, he gets roasted, and he bounces, and that's kind of it.
He eats a cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Marie really only has maybe two other lines in the episode in a later scene. So, yeah, they are kind of just thrown in here for contract sake more than plot sake. But we cut to the opening, and then we cut to Robert. Oh, yeah, so that is the punchline of the episode, that I think that Frank is slovenly. Not of the episode, of the cold open. We cut to Robert coming over, and Deborah offers him some cookies. They got the good ones. Marie gave him all of the irregulars. And then he tells Ray...
The way that he said irregulars made me chuckle a little bit. Yeah.
And it's so like that's such a good move to make with that dynamic that we're already familiar with of, she's thinking about Robert, but not as much as she's thinking about Raymond. And we all know in the back of our minds that there's a possibility that she made all of those cookies for Raymond.
Yeah, a possibility. I think that there's almost no doubt that that was a specific move. Yeah.
But Robert tells Ray that he was at the park with Shamsky, his dog, and they ran into Gary Hebs, who Ray asks, how was he doing? And Robert says you can ask him yourself because you're going to see him at the high school reunion on Saturday.
Did we see Greg at the high school reunion?
Gary Hebner?
Gary,
no.
Sorry.
No, we did not. Unless he was one of the people that Ray pointed out at the beginning, where he's like, I went to high school with that guy. Which is a funny joke.
Yeah, it was. I wish we met Gary instead of Scott.
Yeah, me too. Well, it sounds like he's here's what we know about Gary Hebner is he has been outside one time, he's been in a park one time, and he knows Robert well enough to greet him. So he sounds like a really interesting character.
Yeah.
So Deborah did not know about the high school reunion. Ray says he doesn't want to go. Robert has a joke that anyone could have had, I guess. It sounds like a stand-up joke, but a very generic one of your high school reunion is like your own personal Twilight Zone. You see all these people, and then you blink, and everyone's 20 years older. Which is, a solid premise for a joke, but
all right.
It's nothing special.
Also a little bit flat, yeah.
Deborah says that Ray should go. He has a great life to show off, including his hair. Robert says he has, luxurious hair, and Ray agrees to stop by, but he's still not thrilled about it. He walks away. Robert then turns to Deborah and says, he uses conditioner, doesn't he? And then he finishes it off with the volumizer, which is funny.
Very.
I like when we get a little peek at like Robert's inner life like that.
Yeah,
he's
too.
concerned about his hair, and he's looking for a way to really get it into shape.
Ray does have good hair, though.
You got to admit, Ray has a nice head of hair. Even now,
it's nice. It's poofy.
Romano has a good head of hair.
During this entire scene, I was keeping dead on track because when Robert comes in, he collects like 5 or 6 cookies, and I was keeping track of what happened to the cookies because I was really thinking that, was he going to take them? Was he going to leave them? What's going to happen with the cookies? All that happens is they move from one side of the table to the other, and then we cut to black, and I never see the resolution on he doesn't eat them, he doesn't do anything with them. They're just on the table, no plate, no napkin, no nothing.
Ew.
And I'm just, a little weird.
Cookie gate.
It seems like a missed opportunity to not have Robert chin the cookie.
That's a good point. I always keep this in mind because I also think that, you got to imagine they're doing a dozen or so takes of these at any given time. So you can't have him eat a full cookie in every scene because then, that's a lot for a guy to consume. Yeah. So I was curious because typically if you watch like sitcoms when they're eating, they're not really eating. They're just like moving food around with their fork. Yeah. I always keep an eye on that. It's like, is he actually taking a bite or no? But yeah.
And it seems in this case he did not.
Yeah. No. It's also like, this might be too off target, but if you ever see a beer commercial, they're not legally allowed to show anybody drinking beer. So you'll see someone opening beer, you'll see them raising it up towards their lip, but then they'll cut away. You'll see them taking it away from their mouth, but you'll never see them drinking it. And after that got pointed out to me, I've never been able to unsee it. And I, since then, have always done the same thing with sitcom food. If they actually eat it, or if they're just kind of faking it. So,
well, Mike, you've just cursed me forever, and now I'm never going to be able to unsee that. So screw you. First of all,
you're welcome.
And second of all, thank you for informing me on things. It's nice of you.
So we cut to the Hillcrest High Class of 77 reunion. As we mentioned, did we talk about this on Mike? I don't know, but Ray in real life, went to Hillcrest High School, which is in Queens, which is near to the campus of St. John's University, where Mike and I went.
We talked about that. I didn't realize that the name of the high school was Hillcrest High, though. That's a nice little touch.
Yeah.
So wait, did Raymond's parents live in Limbrook like all of Raymond's life?
I think so, because we see him in flashbacks as a kid in the house.
That's true.
Then why I guess then Raymond the character went to school at like in Limbrook, but it's like,
well, that is an inconsistent. So I guess we're supposed to take that there is a Hillcrest High in Queens. Not Queens, in Limbrook.
In Limbrook.
So paralleling the life of Ray Romano, Ray Barone also went to Hillcrest High School, and then maybe went to Hofstra or St. John's. We don't know.
Limbrook feels a little more Queensy in the show than it does in like actual Limbrook. But that's just me.
But yeah, you're right. We need to know, is this a fictional story set in a real Limbrook, or is there an alternate dimension Limbrook with a Hillcrest Avenue in it? Yeah.
What if this is
Limbrook
taking
is a
place,
neighborhood of Queens?
Yeah, in a world where Limbrook is Queens. Yeah. It's certainly possible, and we have no reason not to believe that at this point. We got to imagine that Leo is buried in Queens. You know, these are all things that we're assuming at this point.
That's true.
He's buried in that cemetery on the way to LaGuardia.
We don't know where he could be buried.
Yeah.
Be buried anyway.
I want to say that's St. Michael's. I could be wrong about that, actually.
I have no clue. I personally have never pulled over on my way to LaGuardia to go check out that cemetery. But I know that you make a habit of it to, pay your respects.
I do cemetery tours. What do you.
Yeah, you give cemetery tours. You're like, there's where LaGuardia's buried. There's where it's all New York mayors. It's Ed Koch is buried there. Dinkins, right? De Blasio is buried there. But that was for something else. That was for a magic trick.
They have his plot reserved for when he goes. They can just plop him right over there.
He let himself be buried alive so that he could escape, and everyone would think, wow, we got to stop giving this guy a hard time.
Yeah, it didn't work. It got turned into a political thing where they just kind of like pointed at it for a while.
Yeah. New York. Okay, so
New York,
let's talk about...
baby.
Let's get back to the episode.
Let's get back to it, actually.
So we're at the high school reunion. Hillcrest High, class of 77. Ray and Deborah come in, and Ray is pointing out all the guys with hair. He says, "You promised me bald." And that's when he has the line, he points somebody out, and he's like, "Oh, I know that. I went to high school with that guy." It's just a funny joke. I like that. That's one of the better jokes in the episode.
It is. That is.
So he sees his friend Scott Preman, who is a guest star. Our first guest star who went on to have a bigger career. He's played by Bob Odenkirk. If you don't know who Bob Odenkirk is, he was on Breaking Bad and now Better Call Saul. And at this time, he was doing his sketch show
Mr.
with
Show,
David
right?
Cross, Mr. Show, which is also, incidentally, an HBO production. This show, Raymond, is a HBO television production, even though it aired on CBS.
Really?
So there might have been some dealing there.
Huh. Didn't realize that. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So Bob Odenkirk is playing Scott Preman. Scott is kind of a nerdy guy. He is so excited to see Ray. He tells Deborah about how they used to go sneak out of school together to get 3 egg McMuffins when they came out. I guess it hadn't occurred to me personally that the Egg McMuffin had to be invented at some point. Like
the McRib or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
But
yeah, because McDonald's didn't always do breakfast, right?
I guess not. Yeah.
No, they started that at some point.
Thank you.
I have nothing else to add to this.
No, they started that at some point. And then he gives another McDonald's-based memory of Ray walking through the McDonald's drive-thru.
They must have spent a lot of time at that McDonald's.
We can imagine that he's just kind of a nerd who's doing jokes in the McDonald's parking lot. Ray was walking through the McDonald's drive-thru because he wanted the girl who was working the drive-thru to look at him. And Deborah says, and did she look at you? And Ray says, not in the way that I wanted, or something to that effect, which is a good joke as well. And then Warren, Ray's other friend from high school, comes up, and he greets them by their CB radio names. Warren is played by Brian Posehn, who's a comedian, actor, hosts podcasts, and he was on Mr. Show at the time as well, which is which is what made me think that there must have been some like connection made between the Raymond producers and the Mr. Show producers of we need some guest stars for this episode.
I can't believe that. First of all, I can't believe I did not recognize that Scott was Bob Odenkirk. But second of all, I wonder if it's like if this was an HBO arrangement or if like Bob and Ray like actually knew each other at some point.
I don't know. I know Bob started in stand-up, but I don't remember where he's from. If only there was some way to find that out. But we just don't have time. So he greets them by their CB radio names, which I didn't write down, but they were funny, or they were meant to be funny.
Ray's was Straight Shooter. I remember
yes,
that.
The Straight Shooter. And then I think Scott's was like the Tornado or something. And they reminisce about how they used to talk to somebody named Foxy Lady on the CB.
That's right. This, I think, should be a criminal investigation.
I guess so.
Maybe we should explain what a CB radio is in case people don't know, because that is from before our time, certainly.
Oh, I thought that the implication was like it was a school radio show or something like that.
No, a CB radio, I don't know what the C and B stand for, but it's like what truckers used to use. They would have these little radios in their cars that would operate on a certain frequency that other CB radios could connect to. And then they would they're driving along the highway and they would say, is anybody there? And then they could have somebody to talk to. It was a really big hobby back in like the 70s or something.
Oh, okay.
And then obviously as communication got easier, you could interact with strangers much more easily. So
it's like early days of the internet kind of thing before computers.
It was not on the internet, but yeah, it was.
No, I mean, but like that was kind of like the freedom that was.
Yeah, it was like reaching out into the world to connect with other people kind of thing. Yeah. At any rate, they used to talk to Foxy Lady on the CB. I don't think. Look, I'll give Foxy Lady a pass because there was no way for her to know that these were minors. But
I suppose
that question probably should have come up at some point.
Yeah. At the same time, so they went and met her in the parking lot of the Howard Johnsons, rest in peace, and it turned out to be Mrs. Dreyer from the cafeteria. So if Mrs. Dreyer had seen them get out of the car and proceeded with her planned rendezvous, then, Mrs. Dreyer, you're going to jail. Otherwise, I believe that they parted ways.
It would just be awkward as hell.
Immediately, yeah.
After Ray mooned her, or did he just talk
Ray
about
wanted
her?
to, but he
or his friends wanted Ray to moon her, or something like that.
I think that's actually an interesting line to include here because it tells you like what kind of guys these were, where they were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if you mooned her?" And then they didn't do it, and the memory is that they talked about doing it.
Yeah.
They never.
Yeah. A lot of like their wild high school memories are very tame.
Yeah. So Deborah hears the story and she leaves to go to the bathroom. She says, "I'm going to the ladies' room," and Warren says, "Bring me one," or "Bring me back one." Funny. And the guys are like, so Deborah leaves. The guys are like, "Hey, Ray, you have a wife." They're very impressed by that. And then they're talking about how Pete Hastings used to push them all into the girls' bathroom. That made Warren cry. But they laugh at Scott then because he cried when he skipped. I thought this must have happened to somebody in the writer's room because this is very specific.
Very specific.
Laughing at Scott because he cried because he skipped one question on the SAT and subsequently all of his following questions were wrong, off by one.
That's heartbreaking.
That's
an actual horror.
And then, yeah.
Then the
I had to go
line
to
of,
community college.
Was just for me that was the best line of the episode.
Yeah, that was really
funny.
The specificity of that is very funny. But then they spot across the room Jessica Bell, who's played by Pamela Bowen. She's kind of a working actor. She guested on Cheers, Murder, She Wrote, Beverly Hills 90210. Most recently, of things that I've heard of, she was on 2 episodes of Justified on FX.
Okay.
But here's what's interesting about her. Number 1, apparently she's best friends with Vanna White from The Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, hey. Good to know Vanna's got some friends. That's good.
And at the time that this episode was filmed, she was married to a rock star.
Who was it?
The band was Kiss.
Oh, is it Gene Simmons?
It's not Gene Simmons, it's Paul Stanley.
Oh, man.
She was married to Paul Stanley at the time. They've since divorced. They divorced in 2001, suspiciously 6 months before 9/11. I don't know. But I thought that was very interesting. Why are you laughing?
That suspiciously threw me for a loop. Just like the implication that
we don't know.
Somehow led.
We don't know. So they all liked Jessica Bell. They all thought she was, popular and cool. In, I think he said senior year biology class, which presently for the state of New York, that's a little late to be taking biology. I think I took it.
That's true. It could be.
I took it in 9th grade, or other people take it in 10th grade. So maybe Ray failed biology and had to take it again. I don't know.
Yeah, for us it was 10th. It was 9th grade too. But yeah.
Yeah. But Ray in biology class dissected a frog with her. I think the line is, "You pinned her frog."
Pinned down her frog.
I don't know what to do with that information. It feels a little weird though.
And then she walks by them, and Ray sort of meekly says hi to her, and she just continues walking and says hi. And
then they kind of freak out. It's just like, you talk to her,
you talk to her.
Oh my god!
And then they sort of change subjects, and they're talking about their work. And Scott is a field rep for a sock company, and then Ray asks Warren how his comic book store is doing. Apparently, it burned down, and now he's studying to become a rabbi. And then he says, I thought this was a funny line. He's like, "It's really hard."
Yeah.
But then they're like, I don't want to talk about work. It's a sore subject. Deborah comes back and tells Ray that Jessica invited them to sit at their table. I guess they met in the bathroom, suddenly became good friends. So she comes over, takes them over to the table. She introduces Deborah to everybody, and Ray as an afterthought. This is Ray Barone. He was in our class. And
nobody recognizes him.
Yeah. One of the people sitting at the table is Pete Hastings. Pete Hastings, this is, he's played by Marty Rackham, and he is also a working actor. He was also on Murder, She Wrote. He was on Married with Children. He was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He did 4 episodes of Seinfeld, 1 where he played a cop, and 3 as a recurring character, Elaine's boyfriend, Jake Jarmel. And then the last thing of note is a CSI that he did in 2002. Suspicious.
Okay.
Deborah gets a really warm welcome, and then somebody says, I think it's Pete, says that they thought Ray Barone died in a car wreck the night of graduation. And Ray says, no, that was Jay Malone.
And then
And then
I just need to know everything about Jay Malone at this point moving forward.
He sounds like a much more interesting character than Ray Barone. Maybe we should.
The only thing we know about him is that he died the night of graduation. I don't know about, but yeah.
Well, I mean, what led to it?
That is mysterious.
So they do a toast to Jay Malone, and Ray is sitting there kind of awkwardly. Jessica and Deborah then get up to go and look at old pictures. Jessica says, you're gonna think my hair's so funny. Deborah says, she used to look like Dorothy Hamill. Mike, this is
Who's
sports.
Dorothy Hamill? It is? Oh crap. Hold on. Dorothy Hamill, the wife of Mark Hamill.
Nope.
Oh, she was a figure skater. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. She was an Olympic figure skater in the 70s, and she had a distinctive wedge haircut. It was sort of like a bob, like it's a short.
It's a very Karen haircut. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not saying she was a Karen. I'm saying it's a haircut stereotypically
it has since
associated.
Been adopted. Yeah, it's kind of like it reminds me of like a bowl cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Knowing that, having that context, Deborah's joke is actually pretty funny.
Yeah, it is.
So they go and look at old pictures, and a guy who is credited as cool guy asks. I actually looked closely at this because I thought it's a high school reunion. They're gonna have name tags. This guy is not wearing a name tag. He's just credited as cool guy. He asks if
name.
Ray is Bobby Barone's brother. He was a great basketball player, he says. But cool guy was played by Andrew Williams, a very interesting person. He was born in Wales, but he grew up in Australia. And he was on a bunch of a bunch of soap operas in Australia, including Neighbours, which has been running for 30 years and is like the Australian soap opera. And he was on 37 episodes of that. The only U.S. TV he did was he did 13 episodes of Melrose Place and this one episode of Raymond. And then shortly thereafter, he retired from acting. He became a Buddhist teacher. So he started teaching people about Buddhism.
So
cool guy.
Maybe the rabbi line was inspired.
Maybe it inspired him, yeah. It's like, I don't want to be cool guy anymore. I want to teach people about Buddhism. I found the link to his Facebook page. We could reach out to him.
We don't have to.
I don't know why we would.
Listen, you're a cool man. I don't know if we need him on the podcast.
We'll send him an email, and if he responds, we'll plug in here. And if you didn't hear anything, he did not respond, or
we
reach
didn't.
out.
Yeah.
But Ray tells them that Robert's a cop. And they're all pretty impressed by that, and then says, I'm a sports writer. I have a column in Newsday, and they're like,
They don't care at all. Yeah.
And then Pete recognizes him. He goes, "Oh, I know you." And Ray is like, "Yeah, he's gonna recognize me from my column," but he recognizes him from throwing him in the girls' room.
Yes,
as was previously mentioned. At this point, Funky Town by Lips Inc. starts playing. And
on the Shrek 2 soundtrack.
It is on
and
the Shrek 2
the Alvin
soundtrack.
and the Chipmunks.
It's on any soundtrack where people need to dance because it's very danceable.
It's a very catchy song.
Yes, it is. The name of the band is Lips Inc. Get it?
Oh, I just now pieced that together. Wow, that's terrible.
70s cleverness.
Yeah.
Deborah comes over, dancing. She asks Ray to dance, but Ray says no. So Pete dances with her, and Ray is left alone at the table as people walk past him and put their purses down in front of him.
I will say, Pete got a little handsy with Deborah during the dancing. Like it wasn't just like a casual like, "Ooh, we're dancing together." No, they got involved. I can understand why Ray would be upset with this. I can.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the easy thing for Ray to have done to have solved this, both issues of him feeling awkward sitting at that table and, his later feeling that, like, Deborah sort of was the life of the party while he was cast off to the side. He could have just danced with his wife. And,
That's true.
Done his best. He didn't need to be doing moves. He just, go dance with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, we sort of fade out of that and cut to Ray walking into his and Deborah's bedroom, and he is depressedly taking his shoes off. And then he sort of plops down on the bed. Deborah comes in, and she's in a great mood. She's dancing. She's singing Casey and the Sunshine
shake.
Band.
Shake, shake. Shake the booty.
Mm-hmm.
Shake the booty.
Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Alex is very insistent on shaking of the booty.
I'm very invested in the booty shaking. Yes, that is correct.
So Deborah comes in. She's in a great mood. She had so much fun. She said, your friends were great. And Ray says, those people aren't my friends. He thinks they were nice to Deborah because she was also popular in high school, and popular people get along together. And this is sort of where I go from... it's not that I don't feel sorry for Ray anymore, but Ray getting in this mindset of that dynamic still existing in his life as a 40-year-old man is there's no need for that. That's so
interesting, Adam, because my perspective was the exact reverse. The
Really?
majority of this, I had very little sympathy for him because he wasn't participating in anything. He was just kind of being awkward and just not really trying to do anything, and then being upset with the results. And then when he starts going into he clearly high school was a rough time for him.
Mm-hmm.
And not only was he reminded of that, his wife now is interacting with the people that made his life a living hell and is very much in favor of them. I understand him being upset with that. Yeah, yes, you're right. He's 40 years old. He should move on. But I think it's a very human thing to be what am I in the I'll give you an example of the question of, would this person be with me if they knew who I was in high school, being on the top of his mind. That's I can understand why that would bother him. I do.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I was coming from feeling... I felt for Ray in the situation. I got why he, didn't like sitting at the table with all the people who bullied him, and sort of feeling like he didn't get what he was promised when Deborah said, you have this impressive career. People are going to be so impressed with you. And they sort of just brush him off.
That's true.
I get that. And then Deborah dancing with his high school bully, I get that as well. It's this thinking that Deborah is predisposed to, get along with these people when Deborah doesn't have that baggage that he has. So Deborah's just being polite pretty much and
right.
having fun in the situation. So I think he sort of blames her for his experience there when really she didn't have any influence over it, really.
There is a lot of
in the
blame
situation.
assignment that I noticed. That's a great point,
Yeah.
Adam.
He sort of puts it on her as if she was responsible for how other people were receiving him when she was just being, sociable. So I don't like that Ray blames her for it, and that's where I think that him leaning on that dynamic of popular, unpopular is more of an excuse to not engage with what was really causing him to be uncomfortable in that situation.
I see what you're saying. I don't disagree.
I think you're right, though, of it's totally understandable why he feels the way that he feels. It might also just be a case of him not having the vocabulary to express that.
Yeah.
Which has been a recurrent problem with Ray.
Sure.
So Ray, and then from this point, Ray sort of, the blame starts flying. He says he wanted to stay home, and Deborah says, he's such a nerd. And then he kind of goes on the offense, and he calls her a cheerleader, and then he yells after her, "I'm going to bed. Give me a B, give me an E."
I thought
Which-
That one was
I
a
thought
miss
during
for
that.
me.
Yeah, that was a miss. I thought that when he was doing that, I was thinking, are the kids not around? Are they gonna
Not
be like
asleep.
what's? Yeah,
They're watching Popeye.
Well, that's the next morning. Yes,
That's
we
the
cut
next
to
morning,
them on the couch. They're watching what Ray says is MTV, but it sounds exactly the same as when they use like kids' TV sounds. But maybe that's a licensing issue, and there used to be like Divinals I
that.
Touch Myself over that scene.
possibly, maybe.
But he says no MTV in this house, and he changes it to Popeye. Allie says nobody likes Popeye, which I might stand by. And Ray says, why? Because he's not cool? Well, maybe you don't know Popeye. And he gets very defensive of Popeye because Popeye is Ray in this situation. I mean, Popeye is great and all, and, like what you like. Popeye has never done anything for me.
I respect Popeye as like a classic animation.
Yeah.
I can understand, but yeah,
Just for me, Popeye doesn't do it for me.
not the spinach, not the him swallowing it whole and watching the whole thing course through his body. He gets the big forearms. That doesn't get you excited.
Well, maybe that. Honestly, it's more the ancillary characters of like Wimpy and Olive Oil and Bluto. It's just a world that Popeyes is a world that I don't want to live in. If people like that are running around.
That's fair.
Okay, so Deborah, Ray walks into the kitchen and he's muttering to himself about Popeye, and then he does bring up Wimpy. And Deborah is walking up as he is grabbing the cereal and digging in it for what turns out to be a monster tattoo. And Ray, thinks that she's going to make fun of him for being a nerd and wanting the monster tattoo. But she's like, no, that's whatever. And then she tells him that she washed his gym stuff and his nose plugs went through the dryer. Dr. Sundrum said that he should wear, who we met in the golf episode, he said he should wear them to prevent infections in his eustachian tubes. It connects the middle ears to the back of your throat. They help drain fluid and equalize the air pressure inside your ears. So I guess if Ray has a problem with those, it's probably best that he wears those nose plugs.
I think the purpose of that line was not necessarily about his nasal issues. I think it was more of just the Poindexter like pushing up the glasses like, oh, I get my tubes, I think it was one of those.
Well, I like Deborah's line of, yes, Ray, we all know you have very sensitive tubes.
Yeah.
Was funny. So at that point, Robert comes over, and he, full uniform, by the way, he came straight from work to ask how last night went.
That's true, yeah. What a guy.
Or maybe
what a
he's
brother.
going to work because it is the morning. Never mind. Or
He could have had the
working a
night shift.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a cop. That happens.
He could have witnessed a double homicide not 3 hours ago and
he could
rolled in
have
to ask his brother
could've-
how his high school reunion went.
seen blood splattered on the floor. And
Absolute favorite headcanon that we have is just that outside of the sitcom, Robert has just the most intense, like, police drama life ever.
He just came from asking a serial killer for help solving another serial killer's murders, and he wants to know how the high school reunion went.
He showed Hannibal Lecter the crime scenes, and the Hannibal Lecter was like, "Oh, this guy's a master, but he made one mistake. He didn't care about the splash pattern and the splash pattern of the blood, and that changed the case." And Robert had cracked it and realized he let the culprit walk, and that the culprit is on the way to his next victim. But he's off the clock, and now he has to go talk to his brother about how the high school reunion went.
And then somebody else dies in Lynbrook that night. So Robert comes over. How was last night? Apparently, Jessica Bell asked about Robert, and she had a crush on him back then. Robert in high school seemed to be on top of the world, as we've heard in previous episodes. Yeah. she used to follow me around. Cute kid. They never got together because she was a freshman and he was a senior, and he tells Ray, it would have been like me hanging out with you.
Which makes Ray feel great.
Yeah. And Deborah says that Pete was also there, and Robert says, oh, I remember I used to push him into the girls' room. So that's where he learned that. And then talk about...
I love this. I love the idea that just in high school it was an exact reversal where, Robert was bullying Raymond's bully and all this. That's fantastic.
Robert was the king of the school. But then they talk about the dancing, and then Robert and Deborah do the hustle. And they're, the crowd goes wild because they're doing a great job. Have you guys ever done the hustle?
Can't say I have. Well, I made
nope, I haven't.
Similar to that, but I don't think I've ever done the hustle in proper.
I think back in the 70s, you formally learned it wherever you went. People across the nation were, whether it was at a community center or in their gym class, they were learning to do the hustle, and then they would all go to the dance floor and they would all do the hustle together. And I think that's what our country needs right now, is we need a new hustle to bring us all together on a dance floor.
We need the hustle.
Yeah, we need the hustle.
Hustle culture, bring it back.
Pastrami, my candidate, is committing to a hustle-based platform.
No, we're stealing that. We're stealing that. No,
you can have the electric slide.
All right, we'll take it.
But we will take the hustle.
No, electric slide is better. We'll make that work. It's got the instructions in the song. That makes it a better dancing song.
But the hustle,
it's easy.
The hustle is assertive. The hustle is demanding. Do the hustle, they say. No, I don't believe in the electric slide. They say, do the electric slide. They do not have that authority.
Can we have the Cotton Eye Joe?
I think we'll have to share the Cotton Eye Joe. I think what we should enter into is a sort of start agreement where we're agreeing to Cotton Eye Joe disarmament together, just for the good of the planet.
Fair enough. We're taking the bubble, though.
So Robert and Deborah do the hustle. They finish, and then Ray says, all you need's an Indian and a construction worker, and you got an act. So this is obviously a reference to the Village People.
That's right.
Lots of solid 70s references in this episode.
Well, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, by the way, did you notice when they were doing the hustle, Ray starts throwing cereal at them, and he knocks over the milk. He knocks over the milk.
Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot.
For the entire rest of the scene, just half the table is covered in milk.
Really?
And
Ray, immediately after the milk fell over, Ray kind of gestures to it, and then he goes to start blooding it a little bit. And then he realizes he doesn't have towels, and he's just I guess I'll just continue the scene.
It's clearly unscripted. It's clearly just Ray Romano fucked up and was just oh, we got to cancel this, right? We got to cut this. And they're no, keep rolling. And
it was awesome.
Yeah,
I gotta go back and watch it. I was so transfixed by the dancing. But all you need is an Indian and a construction worker, and you got an act. This is a reference to the Village People, who were. I mean, everyone probably knows the Village People. They did YMCA, of course, and their second most famous song is probably "In the Navy." So that's a reference to the Village People. And then Robert and Deborah are laughing at him the whole time. They laugh at Ray for sitting out and watching the purses. And Ray gets defensive. He's like, does a nerdy guy go out on the road with the New York Knicks? And Robert says, depends on if they need somebody to watch the purses. And then
you know what?
Marie,
solid jab.
It's a solid jab, a nice 1-2. Marie bursts in at this point with what she describes as jazzy with it short pants that she bought for Ray. They appear to be a brown plaid. I don't know if maybe in the golf episode we've seen Ray wearing shorts. I don't know if Ray is a shorts man. But it's clearly embarrassing for him, and Robert and Deborah are laughing at him, and he just kind of takes the shorts and sulks off. And then we cut to Ray upstairs, and he's pacing. He's clearly very upset. Deborah comes up, and he asks her, and this is something that I give Ray credit for trying to change. He asks her if she wants to go dancing Saturday.
It was cute. This was cute.
And then
That is.
Deborah says that she'd love to, but they can't Saturday. And Ray, going into high school mode, thinks that she's blowing him off. He's heard them all before. Are you washing your hair? I cannot remember the other examples that he gave.
This is a funny bit where he kind of like goes.
I
into
don't
like,
date Italians.
Like,
Oh yeah, I don't think that's right.
Super insecure high schooler mode. Just like, I feel like he doesn't even realize he's doing it. Like he kind of forgets for a moment that this is his wife.
Yeah.
He's just been kind of living in that high school mode for a few days at this point.
But Deborah says, actually, the reason we can't do it Saturday is because you're going to be out of town with the Knicks. But Ray is kind of heated. He says, this is a mixed marriage. You're one of the cool people and I'm not. And Deborah, I think, takes a very sweet tactic with him of asking him why he thinks that she married him. And Ray says, I'm nice. She says, what else? And he says, I have good hair. And what else? And he says, I have a car. And then they sort of do like a role-playing thing. And I think we have to assume that
Put it on the cum counter.
Good old sex was had in this episode.
Amen.
Splat on the cum counter. Jesus.
I think
We're back.
I think we gotta cut the cum counter. It's getting a bit much.
We're back.
All right.
And so we assume that they had sex, and then we cut to the hot close, the episode of the cold open, of course. It's Ray and Robert in the basement office, and Robert is teaching Ray how to dance to Funky Town. And they each show off a couple of moves. Ray does a moonwalk, and then Robert does like a whole Michael Jackson thing with like pulling the jacket out and like doing the hips and everything. It's quite the sight. And that is how the episode ends. So, that's high school.
That's high school.
Let's turn our attention to the classic. You know it, you love it, and of course you missed it. The barometer. It's the scale from 1 to 10 on which we rate Ray's performance as a husband, brother, son, classmate, husband. Said husband twice there. Husband, brother, son,
this
classmate.
is a very husband-centric episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
This is mostly husband.
This is going to mostly be husband. We rate him on those on his performance on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, your Walter Whites, your Don Drapers, men in television who actively harm their families, and 10 being the people that me and my candidate are trying to build a rotunda to honor: Danny Tanner, Carl Winslow, Uncle Phil.
Put them in their own cities. That's all. Come on. Put them in San Francisco and Bel Air. Don't bring them here.
Anyway, 10 being the great dads of sitcom history. So, Alex, where is Ray falling for you in high school?
I don't know. So let me think. I want to talk this through and then decide at the end, because honestly, I'm still kind of mixed with Ray on this whole episode. We start in the beginning very much against going to the high school reunion. I kind of have this thought that it's like maybe just because, I mean, obviously he just doesn't want to go. High school is definitely an iffy time for him, and knowing what we know now after seeing this episode. And it felt like some old wounds were opened up. I thought the time he, spent catching up with his friends, like his actual friends in the high school, were like, they're kind of weird, like just strange, but like he seemed to enjoy himself kind of just talking with them. And I do dock some points from Deborah to be kind of like, let's go sit with these people, even though she wasn't aware of the situation. So I think honestly, Ray should have just kind of just sat with his friends and enjoyed, catching up with them because they seemed like they were the people who cared about him as a person. And then, just kind of from that point on being a little bit of a sourpuss and then getting kind of converted back to that high school mindset, which I think is a very easy thing to do when you're kind of put in familiar situations with people from your past, like really getting into those like mindsets of like high school and then being like stuck in them. I don't think Robert and Deborah helped the situation by kind of playing off his like nerdisms by just like, being the popular people. I don't think anyone in this episode was mature to kind of talk about how they were actually feeling. I don't think the episode ended with anyone talking about how they were feeling. I don't think there were any good resolutions. So I would rate all of them kind of poorly. I would give Ray 4 seems too hard. 5 seems too nice. I feel comfortable saying 4.5.
All right, 4.5.
Just him letting his insecurities get the best of him and basically completely derailing his entire life.
Mike, how is Ray coming in for you?
Yeah, this is a weird one. Gonna kind of agree with Alex, though. I'm gonna put him in the middle because, like, don't get me wrong, the only person that he really hurt in this episode was himself. Like, yeah, he was kind of mean to Deborah at different points, but I don't really think that he did any actual harm, necessarily. That being said, he was a sourpuss stick in the mud, as we said. He kind of sucked it a couple times, and yeah, he just was kind of a whiny loser, but like I said, I don't think he really hurt anyone. I guess I'm going to give him a 5, because I really don't think he hurt or helped anyone throughout this.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel as well. Of this was entirely an internal conflict of Ray's, but it wasn't really a conflict that I think is. I mean, his feelings are obviously valid, and they're all coming from somewhere. But
I love it when you want. I love it when I can tell you want to tell somebody to just suck it up and just stop being a whiny crybaby, but you have to use the appropriate therapist language. I just find it very funny.
Well, he was in an uncomfortable situation, but the way that he reacted to it in the aftermath of it, and the way that he framed it, did not do himself any favors, and it didn't really help him resolve the underlying, emotional issues there, or build like you were saying, they didn't really learn anything at the end of the episode. It seems like they could have, this was a communication thing. This was a, respecting boundaries thing. If Deborah had just dropped it and not tried to convince Ray to go to the reunion, then this conflict wouldn't have happened. But that's not really her fault. It's also like a confidence thing for Ray of, why are you not comfortable dancing with your wife? It's a whole mix of stuff, and it's all sort of coming from his own insecurities. He doesn't learn anything. He does have sex, so that's plus 1 point.
Hey, there you go.
I was going to give him a 5, but I have to give him a 6 now.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to change mine to be a 6 too. Because
really?
Yeah, it's good to screw your wife.
Welcome back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
That puts Ray at a solid 5.5 for this episode.
That feels right to me.
Yeah.
That seems correct.
Yeah,
why not?
So that's season 2, episode 10. That is high school. And we will be back next week. The hiatus is over. We will be back with season 2, episode 11, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the Christmas episode, or the one after that is the Christmas episode.
Well,
we were so
timing.
Close. If we had not taken a break, we would have released the Christmas
this is perfect.
The week
would have been
perfect.
perfect.
This gives me a chance to bring on Santa to my campaign.
That's
so
true.
You know what?
Oh,
I got a shot. We can do this. We can make it happen.
He's free now.
that kills me. That kills me.
Yeah, so we will be covering the Christmas episode sometime in mid to late January. That's season 2, episode 11, and we'll be talking about that then. In the meantime, you can always go to postfund.org/donate or donate.postfund.org also. Any combination of those words will get you where you need to go to get the Baroness Zonus, where you get a monthly bonus episode of this show every month. Because of the hiatus, we have not had a chance to do the January one yet, so we don't know what that's going to be. But last month, we did Scruples, and we've also done fan fiction reading and Judge Deborah, our segment where we adjudicate on a Raymond-related case. So we have a lot of fun over there. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Barone Zone. Postfun.org is our website. Raymond@postfun.org is our email address. And I guess that's it. So, Mike, I believe there's only one last thing to say.
There sure is. Only one last thing to say. It's our classic sign-off. And that is, everybody
loves
Raymond, and we love you.
See you next time. Goodbye.
Love you.